Okay, everyone, I'm so excited today because I have Hildur with me, who is the composer for Hedda, which is in select theaters and stream on Prime now, and you can listen to her score everywhere. How you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to talk to you about this. But before we even break down the score with Hedda, I want to just bring up some other things. So, like, when someone pitches you to do a score for their film, like, what is the key for you to say yes?
Mm, well, in general, I think it's the script that is the deciding factor for me if I do a film or not. And of course, also if I already have a personal relationship with the director, that also very helps a lot. But the script really is the determining factor for me, and normally, when I read a script, I'll know pretty fast if I feel like I can bring something to the table. Like if there's, if I have like a normally if I have a strong connection to the script, I'll get an idea or like a thematic material or a sound world will kind of open up because I think that reading a script is just like reading a book, so you kind of make your own landscape and you make your own world when you're reading. So that's normally one I know if there's a strong musical connection to me.
So, for a film like Hedda, how much do you try to create your score based on character in the script versus, let's say, the plot?
Mm, well, I think it's different between every project. So I try to just really be open to what the project needs and to not have apart from wanting normally to start quite early. I try to have pretty open mind about the process itself. And um and I think for a film like Hedda, it's because it's a play, it can often be difficult to make films from plays because the scenario tends to be quite defined to like a specific space or because in the theater you don't have a lot of wriggle room with what you put on the actual stage, and there tends to be a lot of dialogue and so they can sometimes be a bit heavy as a film. So I think in this sense I knew that because of that danger, I wanted the music to be very energetic and exciting and upbeat, and wanted to kind of like, drag the audience in and make them excited rather than kind of like bog them down with too much dialogue. And also, it's also interesting when you work with period films. I think it's really interesting to try to understand what's happening in the period musically of that specific place that you're in. So for Hedda also it happening in England in the 50s, I was kind of researching what was happening in music back then, and there was a really exciting English composer called Cornelius Cardew who was working in England, and he would have been starting out at this time, and he had this method of blending together amateurs and professional musicians, that would do these like large scale performances of that just sounded really wild and exciting, and that was something that I thought was really interesting for this film because you have, it's all set in this one party, and there's mix of like aristocrats and also like very artistic kind of more lively people. And I was kind of imagining Cornelius Cardew being at the party and conducting these starting to conduct these performances or seeds of these performances that he was later dead. So in that spirit, I decided to go and record the cast and the crew because the cast, actors often have some sort of musical or singing experience, but it's not normally a requirement to be a gaffer to to be able to sing. So I wasn't expecting that from any of the crew. So all the voices in the film are this choir of the women in the production office, a gaffer, a dolly operator, just like whoever from the crew was available, and a lot of extras and some of the main or the main cast, and so all the voices and all the breathing are those people singing and breathing together, and I thought that was just such a fun way of working, also just to celebrate the amount of people it takes to make a film. It's just such an incredible group of people that comes together to make a film happen. So yeah, and then of course we had the band, so that was a very strong deciding factor of where the music would end up, because we knew that the band was going to be playing songs, and so we knew that there would be this kind of 50s jazz connection. So I wrote the song for the film that kind of serves as the love theme, and that also ties into the score. And Nia, the director, she wrote the lyrics. So that was another one of these very fun collaborations where music just seeps into all these different directions of the creative process.
That's really incredible answer and so much to just explore that answer. But
Yeah, it's a
I'll
very long
pick.
answer.
No, it's great. What stuck out to me is when you said the keyword jazz there, and it has that jazz feel. So like I remember I played drums in high school, and jazz was
Mm.
always the most difficult for me. Is do you consider jazz maybe the most difficult genre that you're composing or making music about, or do you kind of all see the same kind of level of difficulty?
Well, I try to tend to stray away from words like difficulty when I'm working.
Yeah.
So, so I try to go more in the direction of just like how can I have the most fun while working on this? Because for me, like I start so early on films, so for me the process is so important, and it has to keep me engaged the whole time, so I don't get bored or I have to kind of stay with it the whole time. So that is also like a very strong deciding factor of how I end up working, because I think like, okay, I need to be with this for like even maybe up to 2 years. I need to be excited about this for a long time. So what can I learn in this process? And I haven't really done much jazz before. I'm not like, normally a jazz musician, but what I do think is important in well, in all music, but especially jazz music, I think, because there's often so much freedom in jazz. Like, you have like a specific type of material that you're like your specific kind of structure around the song, but then there's like lots of space, or often in jazz, I think. So it's really important who is playing, and I was so lucky to have some of the most phenomenal jazz players, in my opinion, of all time. Like, drummers like Joey Barron, who plays all the drums in the score. And I mean, you can write anything for Joey Barron, and he can make it sound amazing. you know. So when you have someone like Joey Byron and Greg Cohen, who plays the bass in some of these tracks, and Robin Tchaikovsky, the other percussionist, like, when you're working with such incredible talents like that, then it becomes easy and fun, very fun, because also people that are that musical and have that much music in them. Like when you're recording, you can just like the process is so alive. You try something out, and then you try out something different, and you can really just kind of have things come to life in a very exciting and creative way, I think.
So I'm interested too because you're someone who stays very booked and busy, which is great. And you have like films you're doing like 28 Days Later, Bone Temple, The Bride, and you have Hedda right here. So is there ever like a time crunch you're on? And does that give you pressure sometimes to get something done quicker than maybe you would like? Like, how do you even get through that?
Yes, that definitely happens. Um, Even when I start this early, that of course, most of my work obviously happens like, in the editing process and towards the end of the process of the film getting ready, so whether you like it or not, music is often the thing that kind of changes the most, the latest, because it's like, one of the latest kind of big elements that's happening in the process. And so as the composer, you have to be pretty aware of that pressure and willing to shoulder that pressure and all those last minute changes and all of those things. And I think that, you know, the I don't know how to explain this in a way that doesn't sound stupid, but what I have just learned to do over the years is to trick myself into telling myself that I have way more time than I actually have. So let's say that that I get and normally I'm also on the other side of the planet from everyone else is working on the film, so I might kind of, I might wake up to an email that's like, oh, we have to change everything that's happening in this, because it's coming from LA and I'm in Europe. So we have to change everything in the scene, or like in this whatever we have to, everything has to be moved around, and we have to finish, we have to get it by the start of our day. So I have maybe, one day to finish an entire scene or whatever it is. And I've just managed to kind of, yeah, find these trick methods of fooling myself into just like, well, if I just have a cup of tea and I take a walk and then I'll think about it, then I'll just like, or just like, even just like look out the window or do something that tricks my mind into saying that it's like, oh, I have all the time in the world. Yeah, why don't I just like have another cup of tea or or go for that dog walk or whatever it is. And somehow that makes it easier, but it's hard to explain.
Oh no, I'm gonna try that now when I get some busy days going. That's great advice. Trick your brain,
Yeah.
right?
Because I think
Yeah.
if you kind of also like if you start you start the day in panic mode, like, oh my God, I have to write, oh my God, I have to, like, it's kind of it's I think it's very hard to write music like that.
Mm,
So it's
yeah.
kind of just like a very subtle neurological difference in just being all relaxed about sitting down.
Yeah. No, I love that. Now, while I have you here, I have to ask you this question because I've always wondered this, but a lot of actors, when they go see their film, the final product, they don't like watching themselves on the screen. They hate it, like they can't see it, right? Like, for a composer, can you sit like if it's premiere night and you watch the movie, are you like, yeah, this is my score, I love this, or you're like, I can't hear this? Like, does you overthink it, or like, can you embrace it and enjoy it?
I think it's a combination of both. Normally it's very exciting to go to the theater and see everything come together and see it on the big screen and on the big speakers, and normally that's mostly just very exciting. But it's also hard because you know every single detail, and you know that, all the mistakes, and all the sloppy edits, or it's just like, sometimes there's last minute picture edits that happen after you deliver the music, so the music gets cut in the in a place that doesn't work for me musically. That's hard to listen to, and all of these things. But in the same way that I've, learned to trick myself into thinking that I have all the time in the world, I've also learned to kind of just, let it go, and know that no one else is going to hear any of that stuff. It's really just, it definitely just going to be me who's noticing those edits, or those
Yeah.
out of tune places, or whatever it is. But also I'm someone who, like, I quite like imperfection, and I think imperfection is a part of the creative process. And I think that I just read this wonderful Diane Keaton quote the other day, that was something like, if it's perfect, it's not creative, and
Mm.
I think that's so, that, like, that's something that I've lived by. So I am someone who I normally do like whole takes of performances that are unedited, and they're really imperfect in the way that they're played, but just like capture the spirit of what I'm trying to say much more than, every single note being pitch perfect or in perfect time, or whatever. I think creativity should be, alive and exciting and imperfect. I'm definitely a hugely imperfect person and, musician. So I've learned to just kind of, like let go of trying to control that.
Yeah, like you embrace it. I love that answer. Yeah, the beauty of
Mm,
imperfection, right? And
yeah.
I have to, my last question for you, you won the Oscar for your incredible score, Joker. I still listen to it on Spotify all the time. And you get on top of this Mount Everest, but like, does that leave you with a feeling now of like, well, now what? Like, you got the Oscar. Like, how does it kind of mess with your psychology? Does it, or do you want to win 10 Oscars? Like, what happens now?
Well, I guess the good thing for me is that I never planned to become a film composer as such. I just always did music, and film music was always just one of the things that I did. So since I didn't really have any huge ambitions in that direction, I never in my wildest dreams did I even imagine I would come anywhere close to award season, or winning any of these awards. So that really was never my ambition, because it wasn't really my world. So I was really more surprised than anyone, I think, when when all of that happened. So, but I'm definitely grateful for it. It's been a really unexpected twist in my trajectory. So, but I'm cool with that. That's I'd be very happy with just the one. And just continue with doing what I've always done and I've done for, my whole life, which is just make music of all kinds.
Oh, I love that answer. And yeah, I just get excited when I see you're composing a score. So it's exciting to see there's more to come. But right now, everybody listen to the beautiful score of Hedda, which is out now everywhere. And the film is on Prime and select theaters. Hildur, thank you so much for joining me. I hope talking in the future one day.
Thank you. Thanks so much.